I just wanted to thank the protesters at the Coronation. I think you all conducted yourselves with aplomb. That is the benchmark as far as I'm concerned for protesting, except for the people who perhaps you had no control over, who were throwing ball bearings at certain horses that got out of control. But in the main, well done. Thank you so much to those protesters. We know you're against the monarchy. We know you see it as a waste of money. And let me assure you, as the 10th cousin of the King, the 9th cousin of Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, we hear you. I hear you loud and clear. And I'm going to be voting in Australia in favour of a post-Elizabethan republic, which is what I've been saying for the last 5 years. The monarchy, I believe, is very good for Australia. However, if people are uncomfortable with that and they'd like to see Australians running Australia, then fair enough. But having said that, let me say this. At no time did the Queen ever intervene in any Australian affairs, no matter what you may have read by some people who were trying to sell books. During the crisis of 1975, Gough Whitlam being sacked, the Queen did not intervene, and none of her underlings intervened in that. It's always been a case of let the Australian people decide what they want to do. It's up to them. And even when Prime Minister Albanese was chatting a day before the coronation with the King, he invited the King to come to Australia, and the modest, humble King said, "Oh, do you think they'd want me?" So, what does that tell you? Charles is only going to visit Australia if Australians want him to visit. And if they don't, he will respect our wishes. I cannot see what the fuss is all about. I agree with the Christian Democrats and the monarchists that it's good to have a Governor General and the Westminster system that we have. It's worked perfectly since 1900. And I'm just a great believer in not putting ice in the beer, not changing what works. However, if we put it to a vote and there's a referendum, I'm a great believer in democracy, and so too is my 10th cousin, King Charles III. And my 7th great-grandfather, King Charles II, would be fully supportive of Australia to be governed by Australians 100% too. He wouldn't have minded at all because, as we know, he was the merry monarch. He just wanted to have a good time. And why don't we all have a good time and join in these wonderful celebrations of a coronation? How many people can say they've lived through a coronation? Some people didn't make it. But my father, who turned 84 yesterday, Kevin John Robert Murphy, he was about 12 years old when Queen Elizabeth got coronated. Is that the word, coronated? I think so. I got crowned. And I asked him yesterday, I said, "Dad, what was it like? Did you have any special feelings?" And he said, "Well, not really." But he had no ill feelings either. And, of course, he grew into a socialist, and he's not in favour of the monarchy at all. But he said he liked Queen Elizabeth. He said she always seemed nice. But he said he didn't like the Duke of Edinburgh because he was a Greek, and his stepfather was a Greek. And he didn't get on with him at all because at 14 he gave him a knuckle sandwich and he left the family under a cloud. But he and old Uncle George had words, or George was doing something he didn't approve of and he was sticking up for his mother, and good on my dad. He knocked old Uncle George down over the lounge, apparently, and he went to live at a neighbour's place up the road who was kind enough to look after my dad whilst he went to school in the Sutherland Shire. Anyway.